What is up, everybody? My name is Andrew, and welcome back to Space Engineers Survival 2024. This is episode number 42, and we've got an interesting one for you today. Today, we are going to build the entire exterior of the AMG Sandstorm. I know that's kind of a crazy task to try and get done in one episode, but we have some help today because we have the time-lapse camera. Say hello to the time-lapse camera over there. He's watching us all the time. Basically, we're going to run through and spend a couple hours on the AMG Sandstorm, all in time-lapse format, and I'm going to commentate over the time lapse after it's been done and tell you what I was doing in each clip. It's kind of like what I used to do in the Space Factory series a long time ago, but it's just going to be for the start of this episode, and then we'll transition to a normal episode after that where we'll get a couple things done. So without further ado, let's just get right into the time lapse. 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, so we're going to start with building this side to the little control area that we built last episode that I didn't finish. So we're just going to put up a couple of window blocks with the little control panel blocks as well. And we're going to put up a couple windows on the bottom. Now, I tried messing around a couple ways, trying to figure out how I want to do this with a beam going across to make it look a little bit nice, but I decided to remove that. And finally, we're going to mess with the top as well, removing that little hat that the AMG Sandstorm has and replacing it with a big old window. And I think that looks a lot better. Moving on, we're going to start with the next big section of the AMG Sandstorm, which is the top. And this is where we go a little bit crazy because first we start off making a little bit of a gun deck, putting a couple weapons up toward the top where I want to have them. But then we go a little bit crazy with deciding on how I want to do some sort of drone launch system. I decided that instead of having it launch out the side, let's have a drone launch system at the top up here. And that's kind of where we go into with this ramp looking thing. Looks a little bit weird, but we'll work a little bit more on it in the rest of this episode, and you'll see exactly what I'm kind of thinking of. I do a little bit more work trying to make a nice little connection from the other sections of the ship, kind of in the exterior area where it's not as pressurized, into this, what's going to be kind of a hangar for these printed ships that are going to launch out the top of the AMG Sandstorm. So that's what you see with this catwalk looking thing going across. And yeah, this is definitely an ambitious thing, but we're going to do it, and it's going to be awesome. Of course, right back up to the top, you see us working on the gun deck, and we're adding a couple of weapons here. Now, the time is going to change a little bit because the day actually changed that I was recording, so the sun's moved a little bit. But we're working again on the side of the AMG Sandstorm. So this is another big section where we used to have those custom turrets. We're going to remove those, and we're also going to remove the old hangar where we used to have the printer so that we can put new stuff in there. And so that's what you see us working on the side. So a lot of this is copying what's in kind of the back of the ship, where we have, you know, the wider section of the AMG Sandstorm. We're kind of copying that toward the front of the ship so it maintains that width all the way through the ship. Little bit of a change in perspective here, but you can see what I mean by us kind of gutting, you know, what was there with the AMG Sandstorm and kind of making it look a little bit like the rear of the ship, where we're working on the interior here and then bringing it a little bit wider with those scaffolding blocks, which I think look really good. I love the scaffolding blocks for a ship. I just really love the look that we're going for here. We have a cut right here to the interior of what I just pretty much gutted. Now, this used to be where the little hangar was for the printer that would automatically print ships. Now, that didn't work very well because when the ship was moving, the little printed ships couldn't actually get out of the hangar in time, and they just crashed into the walls everywhere. So we're completely removing this thing, and that's what we're bringing to the top of the ship. Now, this kind of is going to connect to what is the kind of like the dance area, the club area that we have toward the front of the ship. So that's why you see us kind of putting in a nice little club atmosphere. We might work on this a little bit later as well, making it look a little nicer because we've got a lot of space to work with. Tiny little shift back to the exterior of the ship where we're just doing the last remaining bit of this side, and we're also adding a couple of weapons toward the bottom of the ship, which I think are going to look pretty nice. We'll work on those a little bit later as well. Then we jump over to the other side of the ship. Now, this is what the ship used to look like before we did the side we just did. Now we're going to fix up this side, so we're removing those weapons, we're fixing up those thrusters, and we're going to add in all of the new stuff here. In fact, this is a cooler view because where the other one I did over the course of like 3 or 4 recording sessions where you have a bunch of different camera perspectives, this one I did all in one recording session, just kind of going ham and getting everything set up. So this is a better view of what the transformation is going to look like, right? And that interior section you see as well, that used to be the other side of the hangar because we had one on each side. And then also that used to be kind of a hallway that we used to have as well. Now we have a lot more space to work with, and so we're going to have to figure out what to do with all that space, which we're going to do in just a second. Moving to the interior of the ship, you see this entire empty space where that hangar used to be, as well as that hallway, which we've pretty much gutted here. So we have to figure out what to do with this space. And I think I finally decided that we want to do some sort of room situation. It seems like whenever I don't know what to do with like a certain area of the ship, I just make little bedrooms or something. So here we're doing a cool bedroom design. Then I'll give you a tour of this a little bit later as well, once we're in the real-time segment. But yeah, you can kind of see what we're doing with the with the bedroom until I accidentally cover up the camera with a block. That's just how I do things, I guess. Finally, we're moving on to the front of the ship, which is probably one of the harder sections of the ship to renovate because I need to somehow extend everything, and we really have not that much space out the front of the ship here. And as I'm doing this, you'll actually see, I was recording on a Tuesday and I lost connection. Steam lost connection, and I ended up recording this screen for a little while. So that was fun. Guys, make sure you check your time-lapse camera periodically if you're doing a time-lapse to make sure it's still connected to your server. I finally realized and got everything reconnected again, and I started with this camera perspective here, which is us working on the bottom of the ship, which was also pretty destroyed after the AMG Sandstorm crashed. We're putting up a couple of custom turrets over here and doing a little bit of armor work as well, making things look nice. Again, I'll show you everything in the real-time segment that's coming up in just a little bit. And then finally, the last little clip that we have is us working on that disco area slash, you know, dance club thing. This was a hard one to do because we had to figure out how to sort of make it wider and how to connect everything. But I think what we ended up with looks pretty good. So let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments below, because I think it looks pretty cool, but I want to know from you guys. I want to hear from you guys. This is the end of the little time-lapse section, so let's get right into the real time. I'll see you there. All right, I really hope you enjoyed that time lapse. Now let's get into the brunt of the episode. Before we do, I guess I'll go around showing you what we did in the time lapse in case, I mean, you just saw it, but I'll explain what I was doing as well. Don't worry about him right there. That is the cameraman, and the cameraman has disconnected, so yeah, I forgot to put him in a random corner. He's just kind of standing there. But anyways, so we did the majority of the exterior of the ship here, starting with the stuff over here. So we started with, I believe, doing this side, maybe? Oh, we finished up this. Okay, so this was the start. We finished up all this stuff right here, putting in these seats right here, as well as changing the top so that it's just a really, really big thing of glass. I think I like that better than what it looked like before. So that was what we started with. Then we moved on to this section up here, trying to do this top section, and that's where I kind of had this random idea that I thought I'd try out, and this might be the majority of what we do in this episode. It's sort of a drone system. So before in the AMG Sandstorm, you can actually see it in there. Never mind, it's not actually displaying for some reason. But back on the AMG Sandstorm, we had a drone thing right here where we'd print drones and send them out. But the only problem is that if the ship was moving forward, it was right about here. That's why I'm looking at this. If the ship was moving forward, it wouldn't be able to exit out the side of the ship. It would get stuck inside the corridor. So my idea here is that we have drones get printed down here. They've got this long track, so once we release them, they kind of go up the track and they get released out here. So even if we're going forward, the ship will still get released out the back because, you know, momentum. So we drive forward, vroom, the ship goes up there. But anyway, that was that idea. So we're going to be working on that in this episode, seeing if we can get it to work. I've got this merged to a couple different hinges so that if one gets shot, the entire track doesn't get shot off. So yeah, we'll work on that a little bit this episode. I've got a second track over here as well as a gun section, which I guess we'll also have to set up in this episode because I didn't set this up in the time lapse. But yes, so we did this section right here. Then we did the front over here where on the sides out, I'm kind of mimicked what we have toward the back of the ship. And I think it looks pretty good. Same with up here, I added these extra windows, and same over here, added a bunch of windows. Also added some guns on the bottom right there, which I think look pretty good. And then in addition to those windows, we of course added actual areas you could go. So if I go into here, you'll see that this is an entirely new section of the ship. That used to be that little printer corridor. Now it's just another area of this dance floor. So we'll populate this with a couple more things. Same thing all the way on the other side toward the cockpit over here. I actually have a section over here, which used to be the printer corridor, but now is basically rooms. So I made a little room over here. It's got a little bathroom, a little shower. It's got some chairs, and this one, it's got some beds over here. This one actually has a second story as well. Up here, we've got a little area to hang out. We've got a kitchen, and we've got a couple more beds over here. All in all, this house is 6 people. There's a second such room over in this section, but this one's not fully set up yet. It's only got the stairs set up and the bathrooms, so we need to set up this room also. I changed up how this corridor works a little bit, so now we have some windows looking into the middle, as well as, you know, non-symmetrical doors. So the door is over here on this side, and it's over here on this side. I changed up how this works, so it's now a longer hallway. And finally, toward the front, I did a lot of work over here. I actually moved everything forward 1 block. You'll see we have barely any space out the front right here, but I did that so that we could match up the edge right here to this. We actually have a nice little lip right here, which I really like it. I think it makes it look kind of cool. And I did the same thing on this side. We have a bigger lip on this side, which I don't really like, but I couldn't find a way to make this look nice. And then in addition, over on this side, we actually have an entrance right here that goes into the cockpit. We don't have one on the other side because we already have an entrance into that room over there. And then of course I did a little bit of work on the underside right here, actually making this look pretty decent. If you'll remember before, this was completely destroyed right here, and we, you know, fixed it up. So it's looking good. Everything's looking good, I think. So let's get on to the meat of this episode, where we'll be doing some custom turrets as well as working on that that drone section over there. I think we'll start off with the let's start off with the drone section. So right here, essentially what we're gonna have is a printer. It's gonna print a drone, and the drone should be capable of launching this way so that it gets, you know, out of the ship and can fly around and do attacky things. So I'm not really sure how I want to do this. I've had 2 schools of thoughts here. I could either have a car that has the merge block on it, so the car drives all the way up here and releases the drone, and then it drives all the way back down here for the next print, or I could have wheels on each individual drone so that they can automatically drive themselves out, basically. So they'll pretty much just use a thruster, but the wheels will guide them. And I think I'm kind of leaning toward doing the wheels on the drone itself. So if I want to do this, what's going to happen is I think I'm going to do something like this. I've got to extend this so that it's a little bit wider, I think. So let's start by doing that. We're going to extend it all the way up to the top. It shouldn't require too many steel plates, but it's a bit annoying to do because we have to weld everything up, but it should be fine. Give me a second. I'll have this extended. We're just going to extend it by 1 block on each side. Okay, so now that I've extended it, I've also added these little angled blocks here. My thought is that I could potentially have a wheel. Like if I have a center block like this, I could then have a floor like that, and then let's go up 1 more, something like this. And then kind of a floor like that as well, and then have a wheel that wedges in between there. Or, you know, likewise, I could have this up 1 higher. So if the drone itself has a wheel that goes in there, that'll kind of keep it on the track, right? Okay, so this is the idea. If I have the wheels sort of wedged in there, 1 on each side pulling inward, we should be able to have this follow a track. So we just need some thrusters pointing backward to launch it into the air. And what we'll have is an event controller so that once it's disconnected from the merge block, it'll go and fly itself out. And this will just take care of the angle that it's flying out at. So once it reaches here, it'll still have that angle. It'll still launch for another, I don't know, 3 seconds after it gets here, so it gets past the main cockpit. And then by that time, the AI will take over and it'll do its thing. Right, if I want to, let me just test this real quick that this works. So let me grab here, I'm gonna put these here to block it from going any further back. And we're gonna build a little test vehicle. Okay, I'm testing this, and the tricky part seems to be getting the wheel to place itself. If I put that right there, it looks like it should fit, but the wheel itself is not placing because it's not quite in a perfect spot. Well, one thing I could do is I could transition to the idea where I don't have to build wheels on the fly. I just have 1 wheeled vehicle that drives up to here basically, and then releases the craft. That's not a bad idea, but I'd have to be very careful about how fast the vehicle goes because I don't want my car slamming into the end. So I'd probably have to have a stopper right there and then a sensor to tell it when to slow down, when to disconnect, that sort of thing. So that's the more dangerous option, but it's also probably the easier option. So I imagine creating this little car won't be too difficult, but I need to, well, okay, it might be a little difficult because I need to actually get these wheels to place. And I think to do that, I'm gonna need to remove some of these things right here and then attach the wheel like so. There we go. Okay, we have a wheel. We have a single wheel. Uh-oh. All right, let's run it back on the wheeled vehicle here. I think I've got just the way to make it now. Wheel could not be placed. Why?
Why? Why? Why?
Attach wheel. Okay, we have a wheel. We're getting there. There's the other wheel. Okay, and now I can place these, which is kind of weird, but it works. Okay, now let's get the other wheel in. So there we go, there's one, and the other one should be right there. Okay, put the middle block back in. All right, set the friction to 0, and now the idea is that if I release this, it should stay, you know, on its head, I guess. Is that fine? Oh yeah, no, it definitely works. If I get down here, I can actually push the entire thing up like that. Oh man, that's awesome. Okay, let's extend this so it goes all the way to the top. And I gotta make sure I don't push that thing while we're doing this because otherwise it's gonna slide right off the track. All right, there's the track. It goes all the way over to here where we have a suspension, which should hopefully stop those wheels from, you know, destroying if it hits it too fast. But let's see. So we'll push this thing as fast as we can and see what happens. Yeah, it just hits it. Problem is we don't have anything on this one, so we do have to catch it so it doesn't break itself. But yeah. All right, there we go. We have some stopper wheels on this one as well. So now if I release this, it should gain a little bit of speed going down, but it should stop just fine on these stopper wheels. Yep, there we go. And it shouldn't have any damage on any of these. Yes, perfect. Okay, there's our locking mechanism. So when it's back here, it'll lock like that. That's gonna allow it to charge whatever ship is being built on here. Then finally, we need a merge block for the ship itself. So I think the way we'll handle our merge block is gonna be like this. We'll have a merge right there. And then we need to basically build a ship that's gonna be able to go on this. So it's gotta have to be a rather skinny ship because we don't have a lot of room here to work with. But that won't be too difficult. All right, there's our car. So we have a merge block, we have a connector, we have a projector, and we have two little status lights right there that I'll configure somehow. And then we have the connection right there that connects to the base. And that is pretty much it. So once this thing is loaded up with a ship, it'll be able to, you know, well, it'll disconnect from that. As long as it's connected, it'll try to keep hovering next to it because of the lock. But once it's connected, or disconnected rather, imagine it's an engine launching this thing. Boom, it launches out that way, and it's off on its mission. Hopefully that right there didn't cause any damage. Yep, it looks fine. I'm a little worried about these two hitting each other and causing damage, but so far it seems like it's okay. So let's go ahead and make our little craft. So this is gonna be like a little fighter that's gonna be able to fight in, I think I'm gonna make it a hydrogen fighter. Tiny little hydrogen fighter. It's not gonna have a crazy amount of fuel, but it's gonna be really, you know, light, so it's not gonna use a lot of hydrogen. So we're gonna start by building it right here. And in fact, if I need more space, which I might actually, because we currently only have room for basically 2 blocks high of a ship, which is very, very small. So what I might do is I might rework this so that we have a little more space. Okay, so adding those blocks right there give us a much taller fighter. We can have a fighter that's up to 5 blocks tall, which is much more reasonable, I think. And that adds this to the outside. So if we want to try and make this work, or make it look good, then we can. Okay, that actually doesn't look half bad. It gives us, actually, it makes this look a whole lot nicer. So that's what it looked like before. It looked a little weird not being fully covered, but here, I kind of like this. And if I wanted to as well, I could even go up one higher and then bring this hood kind of out a little bit to hide it a little more. I don't think I need to, but let me see what that would look like if I were to do that. I mean, we could. I don't think we need to. And if we do, the only problem is that that's actually gonna make this not able to fire as well over there. Of course, I could do like a half block sort of situation. Yeah, I mean, we could do it like that if we really want to. It doesn't really add too much. I guess it doesn't take away too much of the fire from here, but it does take away a small angle, and I don't think we're really adding very much. I don't know. I'll keep it on there. We might remove it. We'll see. Let me go get some energy. The problem with this place is just hanging outside all the time and welding really uses energy like quite fast. Oh, right. Building a hydrogen fighter is a little bit weird because we would need to actually put connectors on everything, but the problem is if I build an ion-only fighter, it's only going to work in space, and if I build an atmosphere-only fighter, it's not going to work in space at all. So that's our big issue, right? Thinking we go double thrust on each, like one thrust on each side for the back. We'll do probably one thrust on each side, and then one top and bottom. All right, here is prototype 1. It's not much to look at, but I'm only testing if I have enough hydrogen or if I'm going to need more. So, and also if the system works. So let's go ahead and switch lock that. Let's switch lock this as well and see if this starts loading up on this. I might need to put stockpile on. Yep. Let's go ahead and throw stockpile on. So we're going to need an event controller for this, so that it knows when it's connected. So we'll see if 3 times small hydrogen tanks is enough for this thing. All right, 100% on all of these. So let's turn them off stockpile as well. And finally, let's go ahead and remote control this. All right, let's go ahead and test this thing with prototype 1. So we're gonna press 8 to disconnect the connector. Oh, it's actually like going off to the side a little bit, but I think it's fine. So if we go forward, so we're gonna go forward and press P and see if that works. So let's go forward, press P. Oh, okay, hang on. Let me see what happens. Oh, it's the merge block. I forgot to do the merge block. Okay, so we're back at the default setup with prototype 1. So we're gonna disconnect this, and at the same time, we're going to disconnect our merge block so that we're only locked on with connector. Then we should have no problem launching. So let's go ahead and try this one more time. Okay, so step 1, remove the lock there, and also at the same time, remove the merge block. There we go. And I actually have to reconnect here. Small grid, I think that's the one. Okay, there we go. I think we're pretty much ready. So let's go ahead and try this. 3, 2, 1, here we go. And we're free. I hit the button as we went, and we are now successfully in the air. Let's make sure that our thing didn't fall off the track, and no, it did not. Nice. So now we imagine that we're, fighting or whatever. Do we have ammo? I don't know if we have ammo, actually. Let's check our inventory here. We do actually have ammo, so this thing did collect ammo. But yeah, it can fly around and do some fighting. I think 3 hydrogen tanks might be fine because we're at 75%. We've been out for a little bit. Let's say we're fighting, shooting things down. I think this might be the perfect amount of hydrogen for us. I wouldn't want to go 1 tank because then we'd be getting low on hydrogen right now, and we've hardly done anything. And 2 might cut it a little close. So I think 3 is going to be good. And I like the gyro force that we have. I think that's good as well. The guns, let's try the guns. Let's say we're attacking something, doing a straight front over here. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, the guns are fine. I have them at like a centralized block as well, so that's gonna make it easy to shoot down things. So this doesn't have any AI control on it right now. We're just testing out the stuff, but we'll add AI control and that sort of thing. Man, I kind of like this thing. We'll add some armor as well. Make sure it's fully armored and not like super easy to kill. Okay, I can try to put this back on here since we only have the 1 right now, and then I'll work on it while it's on here. All right. Unfortunately, actually, it looks like when we go forward too fast, this thing actually gets wedged in here, so it doesn't stop it properly like I would want it to. So I wonder if there's a better way to handle stopping this than the way we have it right there. What I could do as well, is have it release kind of here instead of going all the way. So then this has time to slow down and maybe not get hit with such a force. So that might be fine. But look at this. This is actually kind of cool, right? How easily this works. Okay. Anyway, let's bring it back to the back here. There we go. Not bad. Okay, I'm liking that thing. So everything on it, we're gonna keep, and we're gonna add some armor, and I might actually reposition some of this stuff now that we know that it's, a fine amount of hydrogen. In fact, I could add 1 more hydrogen tank if I really want to. You know what I could do to be safe, actually? I'm just thinking about this, and having this launch itself all the way up here and then just fly off into the sunset while having this not combust against the wall here is going to be a crazy amount of timing that I have to worry about. So why not instead, let me just add like a little hydrogen engine to this thing and allow it to launch itself. We'll throw a tiny little hydrogen engine right there, which should never blow up, hopefully. And then we'll just throw a little tiny hydrogen thruster right there. So we'll allow it to have its own power. So it'll turn itself on, it'll fly for, you know, a little bit, and then, you know, it'll be good. All right, here's prototype number 2. It's got some, you know, some protections around it. It's got some decoy blocks. It's got pretty much the same stuff as before, but a little bit more as well. It's also got the AI blocks, but they're not configured yet. I'm gonna go ahead and save before we do this test because we're going to test the launch system. So when I disconnect this, it's not gonna launch automatically, but it is going to prepare to launch. So yep, everything is ready. Let's go ahead and hit the launch button to give it a test. So this is going to activate these timers. It's going to essentially turn this on, which has a thrust override. And then after 2 seconds, it's going to turn off. So hopefully 2 seconds is enough, but we'll tweak it as we need it. So 3, 2, 1, test. Oh, of course. Well, it's actually a good thing this is locking it because I just realized that I don't actually have this triggering the other timer. So whoops. All right, we'll try it again real quick. See if it makes sure it does its thing. Yep, 2 seconds, perfect. All right, so we're gonna try this again, and in all likelihood, what I'm probably gonna have happen is as soon as this disconnects, it's probably gonna start its launch sequence. So let's go ahead and connect it, disconnect it, and try it again. 1, 2, okay. That could be enough. I mean, that gets it a nice little end right there. But I feel like I want a little bit more because I want this to almost be propelled out a little bit. So let's go ahead and put this back on. And I think I'm just gonna increase the thrust override by another 10. So let's go ahead and try this again. So switch lock, go. 1, 2, and the ship is out. So it shouldn't be as hard of a hit as it was just there once the ship is already like off the thing. And again, we didn't lose any damage there, that's good. All right, honestly, I think that might be perfect. Let's try it one more time just to make sure that it is how we like it. So let's switch lock, send it, and then right there is where it would release the ship. So pretty much right at the end, right about there, it would release the ship. So this means we don't actually need a sensor, because that's what I was gonna do before, is I'd have a sensor right here that would detect something, and then it would trigger that to do its braking. But yeah, I think this is perfect. So what I would need from this ship right here is I would either need the AI to take over right about there, or I would need it to have another thruster just specifically for override. So I'd maybe have one of these thrusters transition to an override thruster. Because unfortunately, while Space Engineers added the thing where you can set like a piston to a certain length or something like that, you unfortunately can't set a thruster to have a certain override and then turn off the override. You have to have it on override and then trigger the on-off sequence for the thruster. So that's something that they could add that would be kind of along the same vein as the piston and rotor thing. But because we don't have that, we have to unfortunately either add a third thruster that would act as the override thruster, or we could use a script. Actually, a script would handle it. But anyway, there are a couple of other things that I want to do in this episode, so I want you guys' thoughts on this. What do you think of this launch system and this ship as a whole? I'll read you guys' comments on this one, and I'll implement some of the changes, if you have any, before we make this an official thing and add it to the other side and get the final ship done. So let me know what you think of this in the comments section below, and let's move on to our next task, leaving this one for next episode. Okay, the next two things that we want to do are related to turrets, and we do have some custom turrets that we have to set up on this ship. But before we do that, and in fact, we have to set up those turrets too. Before we do that though, what I want to do is mess with my railguns here a little bit, because what I noticed the last time we had a fight with the Reaver is that both of the railguns fire at the same time instead of one firing and then the other firing. And so that means if it's off target, both of the railguns miss, which is very inefficient. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some sort of event controller and a timer so that one of the railguns is disabled while the other one is enabled, and then once one fires and is recharging, the other one becomes enabled, so that this thing can fire once, you know, wait a few seconds, fire again. It's not firing both at the same time. So I'm gonna have to probably try and figure out how I want to do that. In theory, it shouldn't be too hard. Okay, I'm gonna plop one of these there for now, just to see what we can do with an event controller. See if it has any option for weapon fired or whatever. So let's look at this. Altitude, block integrity, cockpit occupied, distance to target lock, door opened. No, I don't think it has any sort of weapon fired attribute that we can lock onto. What about this over here? Does this have actions? This does have actions. How does this work? You know what? Let me look up the documentation on the wiki for what the custom turret controller has the actions for, and I'll see it, because maybe it's actions for like fired, but it also might be actions for target locked, so I'm not sure. All right, it looks like setup actions inside a turret controller is for if the thing is detecting a target. So if it detects a target, the first action will fire, and if it doesn't detect a target, the second action will fire. So that's not really what I want to do. So my backup plan then would be 2 timers that continuously fire where, oh yeah, actually that's what I could do. When it detects a target, I could start some timers where only one of the railguns is active. And then it waits like 5 seconds and then activates the other railgun, waits like 5 seconds and activates the first railgun, and just back and forth until it doesn't detect a target anymore. I could do that. Okay, so for that, I would have timer 1 where it detects a target, timer 2, which is the flip-flopping back between to turn off one railgun while the other one is on, and then I'd have timer 3 so that this is when you don't detect a target. All right, I think I've got this one set up pretty well right here. So we have our target locked timer, we've got our target unlocked timer, then we've got our flip-flop timers right there, which are gonna flip-flop the turret that's turned on. So if I test this real quick, so let's go ahead and say trigger now. That's gonna turn off the main lights. It's gonna turn on our red lights so that we know that something is locked on. It's also going to set these to start flipping, flopping back and forth. So the timer right here is actually 3 seconds. So we have 3 seconds on one, then it flips to the other one. And then let's go upstairs and I'll show you how we know which one is active. So if we go all the way up here, we've got this light, which is going to tell us which one is active here. So it'll tell us which one is on. Yeah, okay, so what this should allow us to do is that the turret controller should be able to only fire one at a time whenever this is locked. Now, once the script stops, the lights are gonna go back to normal and the flip-flopping will stop as well. Let's go ahead and trigger now. We'll see that the flip-flopping has stopped. And if I go up to the top, we'll see that only one is active and it's set on that. Yep, see right there, that's the one that's gonna be active and it's not gonna be flopping back and forth until a target is locked, then it'll start that once more. Okay, let's go ahead and set up the same exact thing on the other side for the other turret. So bear with me here, we'll fly on over there and get that set up and I'll be right back. Okay, I think we've got everything set up here now. So if I go over here and do a trigger now, we should see the lights dim and we should see these start to go for 3 seconds and then it flips to the other one and then it flips right back. And then if I go all the way up top, we'll see the same thing with the lights going back and forth up here. And here we go. Yep, so that one's active right there. And now the other one on the other side and so on and so forth. So yeah, once that actually goes, we should see it fire 2 railguns in the course of, you know, a couple seconds instead of just one. So now if I go over here and trigger this one, our lights come back on, timers stop, and we're good. Okay, so hopefully what we've just done is effectively turned our railgun into a thing that shoots twice instead of just once. Rather, 2 smaller shots instead of 1 much larger shot at the enemy, which should increase our accuracy and overall damage. So that's good. Okay, so with that done, now what we need to do is focus on the turrets of the AMG Sandstorm. And the ones that I want to focus on the most are going to be the ones in the front here, because this is where we have the custom turrets. So we have 1 custom turret on each side and then 1 normal turret on each side. I thought that was a pretty decent way to go about it, so that we have the firepower of the custom turrets, but also the strength of a normal turret right there. And then on the sides over here, I went with normal turrets also. This one should be pretty easy to just build up real quick. Let me go grab all the materials. But yeah, I do really like these turrets here, because if you'll notice, the custom turrets, they've got one big issue, and that is that they can aim within a 180-degree arc. So it can aim all the way to the left there, and it can aim all the way to the right there, and then anything in between. But it cannot aim up here, for instance. It can't go lower than what that hinge allows. And you can make a custom turret that does, using 2 rotors instead of hinges, but it's easier to use the hinge. Now, the nice thing about a turret, though, is if I go into it, you'll see that it can aim at a much larger area. So this is about where a hinge would end, but this can also aim down even further. So if I go out of that actually and take a look at that, you'll see that it's aiming pretty much that way. So it can aim from there all the way to, you know, it's got an insane arc is what I'm trying to say. So just for this specific case, having turrets down here, I think I'd prefer a normal built one than a custom one. So for our custom turrets on the front here, I think we're gonna wanna go with an autocannon thing, kind of like what we did for the sides earlier before we made our big changes. So we'll just go with 1 front thing like this, and then we'll start getting some autocannons all around it. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, and last one, 4. Build all that up. Same on the other side. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. I think we're gonna go with a pretty simple design for the armor on this thing. It's not gonna be too armored, but it'll be armored enough. Oh, right, this should be the first weapon right there. Nice and done. So again, it doesn't have a lot of defense on it. It's got just a little bit, but it should be fine. Actually, if I want to add a little bit more, maybe I could right here. There we go, a little extra heavy armor, and then maybe I'll throw a nice little light on there. Actually, I can use the new floodlight block. Why not? We'll go ahead and throw a couple floodlights on there. There we go, and that is going to be our little custom weapon. It should be able to fire directly that way. The only problem is it can't fire up like that, so it's a little bit useless if something comes at us from, you know, an upward angle. But that's fine, because if something's at an upward angle, we likely have the more powerful weapons that can fire it at that point. So it should be fine. This is mainly for just if stuff is below us. And this, of course, will still be able to fire. It can fire at anything above the horizon there. Okay, so it's time to do the same for this stuff. So let's get the heavy armor in, get this nice and blocked up, so it's looking like the other one. And there we go. Okay, so second custom turret is done. Let me just name the camera, and we should be good. All right, everything's named. So let's go inside here, because I think, let me, here, I'll use the little entrance that we built during the time lapse right here. I think we have a place for our custom turrets that we can actually go. That used to be for the custom turrets on the side, but since we removed those, we don't actually need to use them anymore. So let me close this and go down here. So this used to be a gaping hole before the time lapse, and we actually fixed up all this stuff here. I kept the turret because I like it. Here, we'll use steel plate to fix it up. And if I go through this long hallway, we should find, yes, so this is where the custom turrets were. Now, we had 2 on either side, now we only have 1. So let me go ahead and remove this guy then. And I'll remove this one as well. There we go, and we'll say that these are for our 2 custom turrets on the front. Why is everything a different shade of green? Come on, space engineers, I'm trying to figure out which one is which, and it's all the same shade of, like, is this the same shade as this? I mean, I know they say that guys can't tell shades of green apart, or shades of any color apart very well, but geez, man. Okay, autocannon 4, this is what I want. Here, I can at least do this one. This one's easy. Boom. Can you guys tell? Okay, tell me honestly. And I know that YouTube's gonna make this a little bit harder, but can you tell these 2 shades of green apart? This, and then one other one is gonna be the for one set of 4. But can you tell these 2 apart? I'm sure some of you can, but it seems like the more that I look at this, the harder it is to tell apart. I think it's this one. I'm pretty sure these 4 go together, as opposed to these 4. Why did it have to give all my subgrids like almost the same shade of green? This is the only one I can rule out. Okay, no, it's definitely these 4, right? Let's do these 4. All right, custom turret front right autocannon. Let's now verify. Did we get it right? Okay, custom right autocannon. Yep. Oh shoot, we got it wrong. Wait, we got it wrong. Oh no. Whoops. I was pretty sure we had the right one. But now that I look at it, yeah, I can see that there's a difference, like when they're all lined up like that. So let's call this unknown autocannon. Meanwhile, we can grab this one. All right, so now with that debacle situated, let's go ahead and set up our azimuth and whatnot. Front right rotor, front right hinge, front right camera, front right autocannons. Front left rotor, front left hinge, front left camera, front left autocannons. All right, and that one is set up as well. But it's getting a little glitchy when I aim it too high, so I'm thinking what's happening there is probably, it's probably that little thing that I set up top. Yeah, that's bumping up against that, and it's not quite liking it. They were a good idea, but unfortunately they clang with the top of that and make it so that we can't aim as high as we otherwise should be able to. So we had to remove them. But anyway, I mean, that's looking pretty good. I'm thinking it's a decent look. Okay, there we go. We got our spotlights back. Even though they're a little wonky, they're kind of aiming away from where the gun's pointing, but it's fine. Okay, custom turrets done. Now we need to do our normal turrets, because we have a couple of normal turrets that we don't have connected, including some of our bigger turrets up here. So we need to find a way to connect these. So the ones on this side are actually connected already. We just need to figure out how to connect those ones. So I was fine with where this turret was placed, but that was until we made this change over here where we extended the side. So what I think I'm gonna do is I am gonna move the turrets back to that position right there. So this one is going to get moved to, yeah, it's back there. All right, there we go. We have a new Type 2 Gatling turret, and it fits quite nicely into what we have. So there we go. We have that one right there. Let's get the other one set up. For this one, I'm gonna have to run some blocks this way, and then eventually down to where it is, which is gonna be right here. All right, the main reason that I'm running this conveyor right here is just for redundancy's sake, so that we have 2 conveyors running up to this guy, and we're gonna bring it down to whatever's under here, which I believe is the little printer area. So what we should end up with is another one of those on this side, right about here. It's a light armor block, nice. Right there, also, that's a heavy armor one. And then we'll put our container in right there. Oops, I accidentally built 2 of them because it lagged, but there's our container, and there is that. So now what we need to do is bring this along this way, and ideally I'd want to find a way to connect it to the bottom, kind of like this one is. All right, I'm trying to find out how to connect this to the main line, and what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a redundant connection from here, which is a curved one. I'm just gonna turn this into either a junction or something. I'm gonna run it all along the top of this, which is our passages, and it'll run to basically here, where we might connect it into this stuff right here. So that'll be our redundant connection, and then we can just connect these simply up to those. So that's gonna make life a whole lot easier for us. I feel like as we build this thing out, the conveyor system of the ship is more and more of a spaghetti conveyor system. It's like Factorio, it all becomes spaghetti at some point, unless you stay very, very organized. Build that up. Build them up and knock them down. Or is it break them down? I don't know. There we go, so we have those in. We can replace the floor here. All right, now all we have to do is this redundant connection over here, which is gonna be right about there. Or honestly, maybe, you know what? Maybe I just go all the way this way. Okay, that's not ideal. Alrighty, and I now pronounce this connection. 1 second. Done! Hurrah! Okay, so we now have a redundant connection, this going all the way to the front of the ship, then to the side of the ship right there where it connects to all the stuff, and then it comes over here. So this is all one big redundant connection now, which makes me very, very happy. All right, so this has to go back to that because those got sent down to the Shadow Realm. And then let me just run around to this middle area over here, and I want to see what this looks like. Yeah, okay, so that's not ideal. But what we can do is send these into these ones, which fixes our problem of not having a floor for half of that. There we go. So now when we put our stairwell back in, we actually have a normal area right here that you can go. And I can put like a little locker in there. That wouldn't be a bad idea. There we go. What do you think of that? A nice little locker before you head outside. And then maybe right there, I don't know, we'll put something. But yeah, I like it. Wonder if we can build up the jump drive again. Can we actually get enough stuff to build it up? No, all the superconductors. I'll put them into production. I think we probably have enough stuff because, I mean, we'll take a quick look at our ores, or ingots rather, not ores, and we'll see that we have, actually we are starting to run a little bit lower on iron and gold as well. If I look at production, it's gonna require, well, about half the gold that we have, so we're still fine. It'll be okay. I think we probably need to get our automated ships back online because they haven't been going for quite a while now. All right, let's get the second turret connected now that we have pretty much everything set up that we want. So this goes in there. Just wire a couple tubes up. This is gonna come down here. That's gonna come, it's kind of a, again, it's a bit of a spaghetti, but it'll get us there. There we go, and last one, there we go. So that gets us all the way up to here, where we now have the connection for our block. Let me go get some power real quick. We'll put our turret back up there, and that'll be good. Okay, there's our turret. Build that up, and it should start grabbing a little bit of ammo any second now. Let's see. Yep, scrapped ammo. All right, the AMG Sandstorm is looking like a force to be reckoned with. Let's get these 2 assault cannons done, and then we'll call it an episode for now. So getting these 2 wired up shouldn't be too hard. Let me see where we need to bring wires from. Okay, straight block, and then we'll curve upward right there, and we're gonna curve upward right here as well. We have to just get above it so that we can go over this corridor block. We can't go directly through it. And then this guy right here is gonna transition into a T-junction. There's the conveyor, and then final piece right here, gonna be that curved piece, and there it is. Okay, that's everything we need for here. Let's go ahead and backfill it with some steel plates. And there it is. Let me see about this as well. I think I need to put one steel plate right there. And then this guy, I think it's still connected to the grid. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll build it up in just a second. After we get this one done, we're gonna try and do the same thing with this one. Let's get another curved piece in here. Bring that down right there. Finally, one more curved piece because we like spaghetti. Ah, falling off the edge there. There we go. And then it's going to be a junction piece right on the top if we have enough stuff for it, which I highly doubt we do. Let's see. We do! Wow, that's a surprise. Okay, let's go ahead and weld up a lot of these blocks. Same on that side, and then we'll get our assault cannons built up and make sure that they're getting ammo and stuff. All right, first assault cannon right there, and second assault cannon coming up right here. A little bit of lag, but there we go, we've got it. And are they getting ammo? Is there a place I can check for ammo on assault cannon turrets, or do I have to actually go find them? I think I might have to actually go find them. So let's check out this assault cannon turret. It's gonna be these ones right here, and they're not actually getting ammo. But the question is, do we have ammo in our ammo container for assault cannon turrets? And the answer is no, I don't think we do. We're all out of assault cannon ammo. Okay, well in that case, build me some assault cannon ammo. Unfortunately, I think for this mission, we're gonna need some magnesium, because otherwise without that, we're not doing much. If I look at my inventory and look at the ingot container, we don't have any magnesium in here. So we're going to have to do some magnesium trips. But what I can real quick do, because we're about to end the episode here, it's been going on for quite a while. It's a weird one. We spent a lot of time working on the ship, so a lot of it's in time-lapse form, so I don't know how much time that's gonna take. But for me, it's been quite a while. But probably next episode, what we'll do is we'll do another PAM episode where we get the PAM ships back up and running. We'll get these transport ships back up and running as well. In fact, while we're here, I guess I can hit the button to send this one on its merry way. Make sure all that stuff's set up and then do the final work on the AMG Sandstorm. And after that, I think the AMG Sandstorm's probably gonna be done. So let me go to the PAM base real quick. I'm gonna grab any magnesium that we might have, because I bet you we have some. All right, Pamazon Distribution Center, how are you doing? I want to check out your ingot storage here. Okay, so ingot storage is showing 6,688K. That's insane. That's more iron than I've ever seen in Space Engineers. That's crazy. Lots of other stuff as well. But I bet you a lot of the PAM ships have run out of stuff to mine. Although I say that, and it looks like they're actually out mining right now. So I shall bite my tongue. Let me bring back this magnesium and see if it builds us some assault cannon shells for our new weapons. We'll go ahead and toss that magnesium in. Never mind, that is full. We'll go directly to our ingot container and just toss the magnesium in there. And then we should notice our production start kicking up. Yes, there we go. We're getting assault cannon turrets, assault cannon shells. And if I go check our assault cannons, yes, it looks like the assault cannons on the ship, which are these ones right here, are full of ammo. All right, we now have all of our weapons on here. We got the AMG Sandstorm looking pretty dang nice. It's almost time for a repaint. I think we're pretty much, I mean, we probably want to do a little bit more work on the interiors here. So probably next episode, we'll do the PAM stuff at the start, and then we'll do a bunch of interior work, getting the interiors situated. Since we got most of the exterior done, we still need to do a little bit on the bottom of the ship. The front bottom's pretty much done, but the middle bottom, all this area right here that's been destroyed, we need to work on. And then finally, the back side of the ship here, we need to make sure is in tip-top shape. But other than that, I mean, the AMG Sandstorm, it's looking like a different ship. It is basically a different ship. Let me remind you that this is what the AMG Sandstorm up here used to look like. So it's very different at this point, but in a good way, I think. I'm liking how it's turning out. But anyway, I think that's where we're going to end this episode. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It's kind of a weird episode with the long time lapse at the start, but we got a lot done. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to hit the like button. Put your comments and suggestions for what you want to see in the next episode down below in the comments section, especially things about this launch system. What do you think we can do to make it better? Things we should watch out for before next episode. And with that, I will see you all in the next episode of Space Engineers Survival.